Okay, let's dive right in. You know that feeling, right?
Mm.
You glance around the house, maybe the garage, and there it is, just
Hmm.
the accumulation, stuff that just is.
Yeah.
And a little thought pops up. Could someone else actually use this? And hey, wouldn't it be nice to free up some space
Yeah.
and maybe make a few bucks?
Oh, absolutely. What's interesting from the start is how universal that experience is. That blend of wanting to declutter our physical space and, well, the potential for a little financial bonus.
Yeah,
It's a pretty compelling combination.
absolutely. And that brings us to a classic solution, the rummage sale.
Mm.
You know, garage sale, yard sale, tag sale, whatever you call it.
The name changes, but the game is the same.
Exactly. But today, we're not just talking about, like, slapping a price tag on that old toaster. We're going deep, really deep, into the surprisingly strategic world of rummage sale pricing.
Yeah, that's right. Because turning that pile of belongings into, well, actual cash and maybe
Yeah.
even enjoying the process, it isn't just about putting things out on a table. It's really about tapping into how people think about value and, crafting a smart approach.
And to be our expert guide on this, we're pulling insights from a true veteran, Dave Rebro from RummageWisconsin.com.
Uh-huh.
I mean, his website has been a go-to resource for bargain hunters and sellers since way back in 2001.
Wow, yeah. Think about that. That's over 2 decades of observing what sells and, crucially, at what price point.
Exactly.
And what makes Dave's long-term perspective so valuable is just the sheer number of transactions and buyer behaviors he's seen over the years.
Right.
He's identified the patterns, the things that lead to successful sales, and also the common mistakes that leave sellers kind of stuck with unsold boxes.
So by the end of this deep dive, you listening should have a set of really practical, actionable strategies.
Right.
Not just random guesses at prices, right?
Right.
But actual tips rooted in experience. Insights into what actually motivates buyers and how to set yourself up for a rummage sale that's both, well, smooth and profitable.
And if we step back for a moment, effective pricing really is the linchpin. It holds the whole thing together. Get the pricing right, and everything else tends to fall into place. Items move, you hit your decluttering goal, maybe your financial goal, but misjudge the pricing, and you might just end up moving those same items right back into your attic or garage.
Okay, so let's get started then. Step 1. Before we even grab the markers and stickers, what's the absolute first thing we need to nail down?
Okay, so this raises a really fundamental question. What do you really want to achieve with this rummage sale?
Right.
And Dave Rebro, through all his experience, has identified basically 3 main objectives that sellers typically have.
All right, lay 'em on us. What are the big 3?
Okay. First, the main driving force might simply be to declutter your space as quickly as possible. Get it gone.
The get it out of my house goal.
Yeah, exactly. Second, the primary goal could be the opposite, to make as much money as possible from your stuff, maximize profit. And third, a lot of sellers are aiming for like a sweet spot, a balance between clearing out items and making a respectable profit.
That makes total sense. And I guess whatever your main goal is, that's going to have a huge impact, like a domino effect, on how you approach pricing everything, isn't it?
Precisely, yeah. If speed is your top priority, just getting rid of it, you'll likely lean towards lower prices, really low, to encourage that quick turnover.
Makes sense.
On the other hand, if you're really focused on maximizing profit, you'll probably use more strategic pricing, research things a bit more, and maybe be prepared for some negotiation.
Right. Hold out for a better offer sometimes.
Yeah. And for those aiming for that balance,
Right.
a good starting point is usually fair initial pricing, but with the idea that you might offer discounts as the sale goes on, especially later in the day.
Okay. So if I just desperately need that old exercise bike gone, now I might price it super low just to see it disappear.
Totally.
But if I have, say, a gently used designer handbag, my pricing strategy would be much more considered. I'd put more thought into it.
Exactly right. And this is where understanding your buyers really comes into play. Rummage Wisconsin follower Deb V shared something interesting on this.
Oh, yeah.
She mentioned that she really appreciates it when sellers are just upfront about wanting to clear items quickly.
Huh.
It creates a sense of urgency for her and actually makes her more likely to buy because she feels like she's getting a genuine bargain.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So honesty can actually be a really effective selling tool in that case.
It really can. What's intriguing here is how simply communicating your motivation can influence buyer behavior.
Yeah.
Even just a simple sign, something like, "We're making room, everything must go." Or, maybe reasonable offers considered, can set the right tone and encourage people to actually engage and make those offers.
Okay, so goal defined. We know why we're doing this. Now we move on to actually putting numbers on things.
Mhm.
But it sounds like there's way more to it than just like picking up price out of thin air.
Oh, absolutely. Step 2 really delves into the psychology behind the pricing. It's not just about the number itself. It's about how potential buyers perceive and sort of react to those numbers.
All right, psychology of pricing. So what are some of the key psychological factors at play when we're pricing our, old board games or clothes?
Well, one important aspect is what's called rounded pricing. People just tend to prefer whole numbers, think $1, $5, $10 over prices that include cents, like $2.75 or $4.50.
Yeah, oh my gosh, yes. Nobody wants to be fumbling for quarters or dimes at a rummage sale. Whole numbers definitely streamline things for everyone.
Right. It makes the mental math easier for the buyer, and it simplifies making change for you, the seller. It just flows better.
Totally. What else influences how people see our prices?
Perceived value is absolutely crucial. Cannot stress this enough.
Okay.
The way an item looks directly impacts how much a buyer is willing to pay for it. It's just how we're wired.
Right.
Items that are clean, well-organized, maybe presented nicely on a table instead of a heap, they're generally seen as having a higher value than similar items that are dusty or piled up or just look disorganized.
Presentation really does matter, doesn't it? Even for secondhand goods. It's kind of like staging your home before putting it on the market. A little effort can make a big difference in perceived worth.
Precisely. And then there's something called the anchoring effect. Have you heard of this?
Vaguely, yeah. Remind me.
Okay, so it's a cognitive bias where our perception of value is heavily influenced by the first piece of information we get.
Yep.
So in the context of a rummage sale, if you place a higher priced item next to a similar but cheaper one, the cheaper item can suddenly seem like a much better deal in comparison.
Ah, the classic retail strategy. So putting that more elaborate, maybe slightly overpriced vintage lamp next to a simpler standard table lamp makes that table lamp suddenly look like a steal.
You got it. Interesting, huh?
Very.
But we also need to be really aware of emotional pricing. This is such a common trap sellers fall into.
What's that?
It's where sellers overprice items based purely on their own sentimental attachment. You know, that old stuffed animal might have huge emotional value for you.
Right. My childhood teddy bear.
But to a potential buyer walking up to your table, it's simply a used toy, maybe worth 50 cents, maybe $1, not the $20 you feel it's worth.
Ouch. Yeah, that's a hard but really important truth to remember. Grandma's old tea set might hold cherished memories for me, but to someone browsing my sale, it's just a set of dishes. Might be nice dishes, but still just dishes.
Exactly. And Rummage Wisconsin follower Ryan L. brings up a really insightful point about this, specifically related to sellers who try to justify high prices by referencing like online values they saw.
Oh, it sells for X on eBay line.
That's the one. His frustration really highlights a key disconnect. People at rummage sales are generally looking for bargains. You know, they're not expecting online retail prices.
Yeah, that's the whole point of going to one.
Right. And if an item is truly worth a significant amount online, buyers often think, well, why isn't the seller just selling it there themselves? It can feel a bit off.
That's a really good perspective. People are coming to these sales expecting to find deals they wouldn't get elsewhere.
Which leads us perfectly into step 3. Proven pricing strategies. You know, methods that have a solid track record of actually working.
Okay, good. Let's get practical. Lay the reliable methods on us.
All right, a really foundational strategy that tons of experienced sellers use is the 25% rule.
Okay, 25% rule.
The general guideline here is to start by pricing most of your common household items at around 25% of whatever their original retail value was.
Okay.
This immediately signals bargain to shoppers.
That sounds like a really solid starting point. Gives you a number to work from. But obviously, the condition of the item is going to be a major factor in whether you stick right to that percentage.
Oh, absolutely. Huge factor. For items that are truly in like new condition, maybe still have tags or were barely used, you might be able to push that a little higher, perhaps into the 30 to 40% range of the original retail price.
Okay.
For items that are, say, gently used with just minor wear, sticking closer to that 20 to 25% mark is usually a good bet.
Right.
And for items that are more well-worn, maybe a bit faded or scuffed, but still perfectly functional, a price maybe in the 10 to 15% range of their original value is likely to be much more appealing to buyers looking for a real deal.
Gotcha. So that barely used baby stroller we talked about might reasonably be priced at closer to 40% of what it costs new,
Mm-hmm.
whereas that slightly pilling sweater, even if it was expensive once, would be more in the 10–15% ballpark now.
Correct. And a great real-world example of this is this case study of Lisa. She focused her rummage sale almost entirely on baby gear.
Smart niche.
Yeah. And by carefully pricing her items using these kinds of percentage guidelines, and also by creating some attractive bundles, we'll talk more about that later, she reported selling an impressive 90% of her inventory on the very first day.
Wow, 90% on day one. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So it really seems like applying these general percentage guidelines adjusted for condition can really set you up for success.
It really provides a strong foundation. Now let's move on to step 4, which is all about making the pricing process itself more efficient. We're talking time-saving tactics.
Oh, thank goodness. Because let's be honest, individually pricing every single item you own, especially if you have a lot of stuff, can feel like a monumental kind of soul-crushing task.
It certainly can be. So one very effective method to speed things up is called category pricing.
Okay.
This just involves setting a single price for all items within a particular category. Simple as that. For instance, you might decide, okay, all my t-shirts are $3 each. All paperback books are $2. All those random kitchen gadgets are $5 piece.
That definitely sounds like a way to save a lot of time and marker ink. And, as Rummage Wisconsin follower Cindy H. pointed out, having clear signs indicating these category prices is super helpful for buyers, too.
Absolutely.
Nobody wants to have to pick up every single item and constantly ask, how much is this? What about this one?
Exactly. Clarity is key for the buyer experience. Another great time-saving technique involves using grab bags and creating bundles.
Ooh, okay.
This is where you combine several smaller, maybe lower value or related items and sell them together for one set price. Think of things like 5 small kids' meal toys for $3, or offering a fill-a-bag for $5 deal with smaller odds and ends like craft supplies or costume jewelry.
Right.
You can also create logical bundles of related items, like maybe a coffee maker along with a couple of mugs and maybe a half bag of coffee beans, all for one bundled price, say $10.
I especially like that fill-a-bag idea. It seems like a fantastic way to move those last smaller items, particularly as the sale is winding down near the end of the day.
It can be incredibly effective for exactly that purpose. We have another great example in the case study of Jessica.
Yep.
In the last couple of hours of her rummage sale, she introduced a $10 fill-a-bag deal for clothes and linens. And she managed to sell a remarkable 80% of her remaining inventory just through that deal.
Wow.
And brought in an extra $200 in the process just from stuff that might not have sold otherwise.
That's a really significant last-minute boost. Okay, so we've covered proven pricing strategies and these time-saving shortcuts. Now, what are some of the common pitfalls, the mistakes we should be actively trying to steer clear of? That's step 5, right? Avoiding common mistakes.
Yes, exactly. Avoiding these common pricing mistakes is absolutely crucial for a successful outcome. Probably one of the most frequent errors sellers make is simply not pricing their items clearly at all.
Yes, the dreaded ask for price situation.
Right. Buyers just don't want to have to guess at prices or constantly track you down, especially if you're busy with someone else, to ask how much something costs.
Definitely a frustration as a buyer. If I can't easily see a price, I'm honestly much more likely to just walk away and move on to the next table or the next sale.
It creates friction. Another common pitfall is overpricing every day. Common items. Like we said, people come to rummage sales specifically looking for bargains.
Right.
So trying to sell, say, a used basic t-shirt for the same price you'd find it new in a discount store is likely to just deter potential buyers immediately.
Makes sense.
And as we discussed earlier, that sentimental overpricing, letting your personal attachment inflate the price way beyond what the market will actually bear, is another big one to watch out for.
Right, gotta leave the emotions at the door when you're pricing that well-loved but worn-out sweater. It isn't suddenly worth a fortune just because you loved it.
So true. And then there's the somewhat frustrating tactic of saying, make me an offer.
Oh, boy.
But then being completely unwilling to negotiate within a reasonable range. Judy R.'s comment on Rummage Wisconsin really encapsulates the buyer's perspective on this. She mentioned feeling kind of misled when sellers say that, but then seem almost offended by any offer that isn't super close to their unspoken and often kind of inflated ideal price.
That can feel a bit disingenuous, can it? If you're not really open to negotiation, it's probably better to just set a fair, firm price up front, or at least have a realistic bottom line in mind.
Exactly. Clarity is usually better. And here's a really valuable pro tip from Dave. If an item hasn't sold by around noon on your sale day,
Uh-huh.
it's usually a pretty good indication that it's priced too high for the current crowd. Don't be afraid to mark it down then and there.
Good advice.
Remember, the goal is generally to sell the items,
Right.
right? Not to pack them all back into your house at the end of the day. A lower price is better than no sale at all, usually.
Makes total sense. Now, shifting gears a bit.
Mm-hmm.
What about those bigger sales? The ones that involve multiple households coming together? That's step 6, right? Multifamily sales?
Yes. Multifamily sales can be fantastic. They often draw bigger crowds because there's more variety.
Yeah, more drawing power.
Exactly. But they also come with their own unique set of challenges, particularly when it comes to, well, keeping track of who owns which items, managing all the money coming in from sales, and then ensuring fair payouts to everyone involved at the end.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine it could get pretty complicated pretty fast. Trying to remember who sold the lamp versus the chair versus the box of books and who gets paid what when multiple families are involved. Chaos potential is high.
It really is, and that's where a little bit of smart organization and maybe even some technology can be a real lifesaver.
Okay.
Dave Rebro recommends using a system like Smart Stickers in conjunction with the Sticker Price app. Have you seen this?
I think I've heard of it. How does it work?
So basically, each participating seller or family gets assigned a unique symbol or code. That symbol goes on all their price tags.
Gotcha. Like family A is a star, family B is a circle.
Exactly like that. Then, when an item is sold, whoever is handling the checkout simply scans the sticker on the item with the app on their phone or tablet,
Ah,
and the app automatically tracks the sale amount and credits it to the correct seller based on that symbol.
oh, that's brilliant. So no more trying to remember who sold what or manually tracking everything on some messy paper spreadsheet that might get lost.
Exactly. This system really streamlines the entire checkout and accounting process. And maybe more importantly, it helps to prevent any potential disagreements or confusion about who sold what and how the money should be divided up later.
Yeah, avoids those awkward end-of-day arguments.
Totally. There's a case study mentioned from a 3-family sale that used this app, and they reported selling 95% of their combined item,
Oh.
with absolutely zero disputes about the payouts afterwards. Everything was clear and tracked.
That's a huge benefit. I bet it makes the whole multifamily sale experience much smoother and actually more enjoyable for everyone involved, sellers included.
It really does seem to. And a valuable pro tip specifically for multifamily sales is to actively promote them in your advertising as being well organized and easy to shop.
Good point.
Buyers often appreciate a less chaotic experience, especially when they're navigating a larger sale with items potentially from multiple different sources. Knowing it's organized can be a draw.
Okay, so we've got the pricing strategies down. We've got tech solutions for bigger sales. Now, let's talk about the actual physical layout of our sales space. That's step 7, organizing for profit.
Yes. How you organize your sales space, your tables, your racks, it has a surprisingly significant impact on buyers' willingness to browse around and ultimately spend money.
I believe it.
A tidy and, importantly, a logically arranged layout creates a much more positive first impression than, just random piles everywhere.
Absolutely. A clean and well-organized sale just feels more inviting and definitely less overwhelming to shoppers walking up.
Yeah.
You want them to stay, not run away.
Right. And this positive impression can actually help justify slightly higher prices in some cases because buyers subconsciously perceive a greater sense of value when things look cared for.
Interesting.
Plus, a good layout naturally encourages impulse buys because shoppers can actually see what you have available easily, clear signage, grouping similar items together. It all makes the whole shopping experience much more user-friendly and pleasant.
Yeah, that comment from Rummage Wisconsin follower Johanna R. about not wanting to have to dig through messy bins really highlights the importance of accessibility.
Exactly.
People want to be able to see what you have without feeling like they're going on an archaeological dig.
Precisely. And Dave offers some really excellent practical pro tips for effective organization. One is placing unique or potentially higher value eye-catching items near the checkout area.
The impulse buy zone.
You got it. It can encourage those last-minute additions as people are waiting to pay. Another really effective strategy is hanging clothing on a rack whenever possible.
Oh yeah, why is that?
Hanging items just tend to sell much, much faster than clothes that are folded on tables or, worse, crammed into boxes. People can browse them easier, see the size, see the style.
Makes sense. Less work for the shopper.
Definitely. And of course, clearly labeling different sections or categories of items like kitchenware, toys, men's clothing Really helps shoppers navigate your sale efficiently and find what they might be looking for.
Those are all really practical and actionable tips. Easy things most people can do. Now, let's move on to step 8. Advanced pricing tactics. Ways to really give our sales a final boost.
Okay, so once you've got the basic pricing and organization down, you can employ some more sophisticated strategies to further incentivize buying and move more of your inventory, especially towards the end. Bundle deals are a prime example we touched on.
Right.
This could be offering something like buy 3 books, get 1 free, or creating those logical sets we mentioned, like the coffee pot and mugs bundle. Even the $5 fill-a-bag concept we talked about earlier really falls into this more advanced category of bundling.
Yeah, I can definitely see how those types of deals would encourage people to buy maybe just a little bit more than they initially intended. Well, if I buy 2 more.
Exactly. It nudges them over the edge. Volume discounts are another really effective tactic along the same lines.
Okay, like how?
Like offering items at, say, $2 each, or 3 for $5, or maybe 6 paperback books for $5, or any 2 home decor items for $5. It motivates buyers to purchase in larger quantities to take advantage of that lower per item price.
Right, getting more bang for their buck.
Precisely. And Amy B's comment that was shared really highlights the appeal of this. She mentioned that she's always drawn to deals where she feels like she's getting a little extra value for just a slightly higher overall price point.
It taps right into that feeling of getting a good deal, scoring some value for your money.
Absolutely. And finally, don't underestimate the power of end-of-day blowouts. These are crucial.
Yeah, the final push.
As your sale starts to wind down, maybe the last hour or two, consider implementing some serious progressive discounts, like maybe offering 25% off everything after 1 p.m., or even slashing prices to 50% off in the very last hour.
Get it gone.
Get it gone. You could also try a name your price approach for the very last remaining stragglers. Anything is better than packing it up. Or even offer donation deals, where maybe if someone buys a certain amount, you promise to donate the rest of your unsold items to a specific charity. That can be a great motivator for those final purchases, and it helps you avoid having to haul everything back inside or figure out disposal.
Those end-of-day tactics really do seem key for maximizing the final sales figures and minimizing the amount of stuff you're left dealing with afterwards.
Couldn't agree more, absolutely. Now, as we start to wrap things up here, Dave has some really important final expert tips to share that can truly make a difference between an okay sale and a great one.
All right, let's soak up that last bit of wisdom. What should we keep in mind?
Okay, first, and this is huge, he strongly advises taking the time to do a little bit of research before you even begin pricing anything significant.
Okay.
Where should we look? Spend some time checking online platforms like eBay, look at sold listings, not just asking prices, check Facebook Marketplace locally, see what similar items are actually going for at other local rummage sales if you can.
Right. Get a feel for the real market value.
Exactly. Tom R's experience is a perfect, almost painful illustration of why this is so important. He apparently almost sold a vintage gaming console for just $10.
Oh, no.
Before doing a quick online check and realizing it was actually worth closer to $50 online to collectors.
Wow, that's a significant difference. Okay, note to self. A little bit of homework beforehand can definitely prevent you from seriously underselling something potentially valuable.
It really can pay off.
Yeah.
Secondly, Dave encourages sellers to constantly self-check their prices by asking themselves a few key questions, putting themselves in the buyer's shoes.
Like,
Ask yourself, would I honestly pay this price for this item in its current condition if I saw it at someone else's sale?
good question.
Does this price seem reasonable given the item's likely demand and its overall quality? And maybe most importantly, would I, as a buyer, feel good about this purchase? Would I feel like I was getting a fair deal at this price?
Those are really insightful questions to force yourself to answer honestly. It brings it right back to that crucial element of understanding the buyer's mindset, doesn't it?
It really does. And finally, Dave offers several really practical logistical pro tips for just making the entire sale experience smoother for both you and your customers.
Okay, let's hear them.
Consider using color-coded stickers maybe to easily identify different price points or categories. Put up clear and visible signs for each major category of items you're selling. Have a calculator or just your phone readily available for quick math at checkout. Make sure you have a good supply of small bills and coins for making change before you even open. Don't rely on the first customer having exact change. And if your sale is outdoors, which most are, definitely have a plan B in case of unexpected rain. Tarps, moving things under cover, whatever it takes.
Oh yeah, the weather plan.
Yeah.
Crucial. All those little logistical details can really add up to a much more seamless and, frankly, less stressful experience for everyone involved.
They really can.
Yeah,
And he has just a few more little gems. Make sure your checkout area is obvious and easy for shoppers to find. Don't make them hunt for where to pay.
right.
Consider playing some quiet, upbeat background music. It can create a more positive, welcoming atmosphere. And maybe even offer something simple like free bottled water, especially if it's a warm day. It's a nice touch.
Yeah, little things make a difference.
And Ben T's comment kind of sums it up nicely. He mentioned that often the most successful and enjoyable sales he goes to are run by friendly sellers who actually seem to enjoy interacting with their customers a bit.
Ah, the human element.
Yeah, that personal touch, just being pleasant and approachable, can make a really big difference in the overall vibe, and maybe even encourage a few extra sales.
That friendly interaction can definitely enhance the whole experience for buyers, make them feel more comfortable browsing and spending.
So as we bring this deep dive on rummage sale pricing to a close, I think the core message is pretty clear, isn't it?
Yeah.
By understanding just a little bit about buyer psychology and by implementing some of these practical, proven pricing strategies we've talked about, you can significantly increase your chances of having a really successful and profitable rummage sale.
Absolutely. It's about being intentional. Take a fresh look at your items, figure out your goals like we said at the start, and then price with intention. You might be really surprised at the treasures people are willing to snap up simply because you price them thoughtfully.
Yeah, think about those overlooked items just gathering dust in a closet or the attic. They could find a happy new home and put a little extra money in your pocket if you just price them strategically, always keeping that buyer's perspective in mind.
And hey, if you want to really dig even deeper into this topic and truly master the art and science of rummage sale pricing, you can download the ultimate rummage sale pricing guide over at RummageWisconsin.com. That's RUMMAGE Wisconsin.com.
And the specific link for the guide is RummageWisconsin.com/Rummage Sale Pricing Guide. It's really packed with even more proven strategies, lots of real-life case studies like the ones we mentioned, smart discounting hacks, detailed organization tips, and even more info on useful tech tools like that sticker price app.
Nice.
And while you're there, you can also connect with a huge community. I think it's over 10,000 bargain hunters and sellers on the RummageWisconsin.com Facebook page. That's just facebook.com/RummageWI. Great place to ask questions and share tips.
Cool.
And yeah, if you are planning a multifamily sale, definitely check out that sticker price app. It's available in all the major app stores, and you can find it online too at stickerpriceapp.com. That's stickerpriceapp.com.
Perfect. So really, whether you're a first-time seller, just testing the waters, or maybe you're a seasoned pro who does this every year, whether you call it a garage sale, yard sale, tag sale, maybe even an estate sale, this guide and these resources sound fantastic for individuals, families, even maybe fundraising groups looking to turn their unwanted clutter into some very welcome cash. So, get your rummage on and happy selling.